silver Tesla barely made a sound as it glided into the parking lot. Morning sun bounced off its spotless hood, catching the eye of a few early risers sipping burnt coffee behind the glass doors. A woman stepped out, locking the car with a flick of her wrist. No chauffeur, no assistant trailing behind. Just her, leather tote in hand, soft curls brushing against her cheek, and a calmness that felt almost practiced. She paused for a second outside the bank's heavy doors. A mother with a stroller passed behind her. An older man shuffled by, nodding politely. She nodded back. Inside, 3 employees behind the front desk barely glanced up. No one opened the door for her. No one greeted her. Not even a smile. Her heels tapped softly against the marble floor. She walked in like a customer, one of dozens they'd see that day. And that was their first mistake. From the front lobby, she could already hear the chatter, one voice louder than the rest, cracking jokes about someone dressed like that asking for a premium suite. Another joined in, laughter rippling. Faintly through the glass divider, she said nothing. She just walked to the center of the room and waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Still, no one approached. By the time the regional director's car pulled up outside, no one at the branch knew who she really was. But in less than 10 minutes, most of them would be out of a job. She had not always looked like this, elegant, unbothered, unshakable. At 44, Monica Royce had learned how to carry silence like armor, how to walk into rooms that were not built for her and leave owning every square inch. She was born in Beaumont, Texas, one of 3 children. Her father worked double shifts at a refinery. Her mother cleaned houses 6 days a week. Monica used to ride in the back of her mom's beat-up station wagon, doing math homework while waiting outside gated communities. She knew what wealth looked like long before she touched it. She touched it through code. By 28, she had sold her second software company. By 35, she was on the cover of Forbes, the quiet tech force redefining financial security. Her AI-based fraud protection system now powered over 70 financial institutions. And 2 years ago, she bought controlling interest in South Bend Capital, a mid-tier banking group with outdated infrastructure and a reputation for internal bias. She had kept that last part quiet. On paper, her holding company, Marrow Ventures, was just another shareholder. But the power behind the scenes? It all pointed back to her, and now she was here, standing inside one of her own banks. The staff had no idea. To them, she was just another woman with a tote bag and natural curls, someone they could ignore while they sipped their coffee and gossiped about real clients. But to the audience watching, it was already clear. They were playing checkers on her chessboard. Behind the front desk, the manager glanced up briefly, then returned to his screen. His name tag read Chad. Chad had been reported 3 times in the past year. Complaints about dismissive language, delayed service, and one incident involving a young Latina entrepreneur who was told to come back with her husband. HR flagged him. The board looked the other way. Monica remembered every detail. Still, she gave them a year to clean it up, a year to fix what was broken. Instead, they replaced the rug and added 2 self-serve coffee stations. She watched. As Chad leaned over to whisper something to a colleague, they both smirked. Across the room, a black woman in her late 50s clutched a folder and waited by the counter. Monica noticed how no one offered to help her either. The woman shifted her weight, clearly unsure if she was even in the right place. Monica's eyes narrowed slightly. This was not a social visit. This was not a random stop. This was an audit, a quiet one, not the kind with spreadsheets and boardrooms, the kind where you watch the truth unfold, unguarded, unfiltered, where the tone of voice, the delay in service, the smirks and side eyes speak louder than policy manuals ever could. Her executive assistant, Diane, had offered to send someone ahead to prep the branch. Monica declined. If I have to prep them to treat people with dignity, we are already too late. Outside, The regional director finally arrived, breathless and confused, greeted Monica with a stiff smile and a handshake that tried too hard. Too late. He had no idea how many silent notes she had already taken. No idea she had already made up. Her mind. The woman with the folder. Her name was June Franklin, small business owner. She had been trying to get a loan approved for 9 months. That would change today. Monica stepped forward. The staff still had not registered who she was. Chad kept glancing at her shoes as if trying to place a brand. They had no idea their morning was already unraveling, and they certainly did not expect what would happen next. The air shifted the moment Shelby walked in. Blonde bob, pressed blouse, lanyard with a badge she never really needed. She moved like someone born to correct others. Her heels clicked across the tile like punctuation marks, sharp, unnecessary. She noticed Monica, paused, scanned her from curls to flats to leather tote, then tilted her head. "You might be in the wrong section, ma'am," she said gently, the way one might talk to someone lost at an airport. "The premium suites are reserved. No name, no welcome. No question, just the assumption. You do not belong here." Monica did not flinch. "I'm waiting for someone," she replied, voice smooth as glass. Shelby smiled, tight, professional, hollow. "Of course. Feel free to use the lower lounge if you prefer. It's just down the hall." And just like that she turned. No offer of help, no attempt to verify anything. Only a subtle push toward the door. Monica remained still. One hand rested gently on her tote, the other curled around the strap, unmoved. Customers came and went. An older white man approached the front desk. 3 staff members straightened. Chad laughed at something he said, then practically jogged to hold open the inner suite door. Customers came and went. A young couple asked about mortgage rates. They were ushered into a private room with free coffee and brochures printed in gold. Foil. Customers came and went. No one approached Monica. No one asked if she needed assistance. June, the woman with the folder, was still waiting. She had now checked her phone 3 times. Each time her eyes darkened a little more. Shelby returned, this time carrying a stack of papers. Her steps slowed as she passed Monica again. Another glance, another scan. Still no recognition, still no correction. "Is someone coming to meet you?" she asked, voice syrupy now, but still not kind. "Yes," Monica replied. Shelby hesitated, then added, "Sometimes clients get confused. They think the main floor is where appointments happen, but the concierge team handles the VIPs separately." That word, clients, hung in the air like a quiet gate. Monica looked her straight in the eye. "And what if I'm not confused?" Shelby smiled again, but her pupils twitched. There was no reply, only a practiced nod and a quick retreat. Behind the front desk, Chad watched the exchange. He leaned toward his colleague and whispered something. They both chuckled. Monica heard it. So did Diane, who had just walked in, clipboard in hand. She paused only briefly before blending into the background, exactly as Monica had trained her. Today was not about titles. It was about truth. One more test, one more chance. Shelby reappeared, holding a branded welcome folder. "If you'd like, I can check the schedule. Perhaps your banker forgot to log the appointment." She extended the folder like a favor. Monica did not take it. "I'm not here for an appointment," she said. A pause. Shelby blinked. "Oh, then, I'm sorry. I'm not sure you will be." It was the first crack. The first moment Shelby looked unsure. But still, the tone held. Still, the assumption lingered. She leaned in, voice lowered. "Ma'am, if you're here for customer service, we do recommend using the branch entrance. It's better suited." Better suited. She meant cheaper, smaller, less visible. The phrase lodged itself like grit in a wound. At the desk, Chad pretended not to watch, but his posture said otherwise, and then came the final insult. Another staffer, a tall man with rolled sleeves, walked past Monica without a word, turned to Shelby and asked, "Should we have security just check in, make sure everything's fine?" Shelby nodded once. That was it. Not a raised voice, not a threat, just a woman, standing still. A black woman, standing where she was not expected. So they called for security. Monica said nothing. She stepped aside as the uniformed guard approached. Young, nervous, clearly unaware of the powder keg he had just walked into. He looked at her, looked at Shelby, then hesitated. "Excuse me, ma'am. I just need to make sure everything's all right here?" Monica raised one brow. "Is there a reason it wouldn't be?" No. Just a routine check. We had a report." "From whom?" He glanced at Shelby, who suddenly found her clipboard fascinating. Monica did not move. Did not raise her voice. She simply reached into her tote and pulled out a slim envelope, handed it to the guard. "Deliver this to the regional director." The guard took it, unsure. "He's expecting it," she added. Shelby tried to peek at the envelope, but Monica turned. The silence was no longer passive. It pressed down on the room like weight. June was still there, watching now, eyes wide. She had seen it all. So had the young teller behind the glass, who dropped her pen when the guard nodded and walked away. No one said a word. No one knew what came next. But the ground had shifted, and the reckoning was no longer distant. Laughter broke out behind the glass partition, soft at first, then sharper. One of the tellers leaned over and whispered something to Chad, who snorted and covered his mouth too late. The other woman behind the counter smirked. Monica heard it. She stood exactly where she had been, center of the marble floor, one heel slightly ahead of the other. Her fingers rested lightly on the strap of her tote. Not a single flinch. Not a single word. This was the part they never understood. Silence could be strategy. Stillness could be power. Shelby circled again. Her smile had evaporated. That clipboard now sat tucked tight to her chest like armor. "If you like, I can," she began, but the elevator chimed. Everyone turned. Out stepped Thomas Beck, dark blue suit, crisp tie, salt and pepper beard trimmed to precision. His stride was even, but there was urgency in it. His eyes scanned the room like a surgeon entering mid-procedure. He saw Monica first, stopped cold, then nodded. Once, firmly. And just like that, the air changed. Shelby's posture snapped upright. Chad stood from his chair. The giggling teller behind the glass dropped her pen again. "Ms. Knight," Thomas said, voice steady but charged. "I apologize for the delay." Shelby blinked. Thomas crossed the room toward Monica with purpose. "There was traffic. That is entirely my fault." Monica offered a half smile. "It gave me time to observe." That line alone tightened every spine in the room. Thomas extended his hand. "If you're ready, we can step into my office." Monica did not move. Her voice stayed low, calm. "We can speak here." 3 words. That was all, but they landed like a gavel. Thomas froze for a beat, then nodded, understanding instantly. "Of course." He turned to Shelby. "You may want to call the others in." Shelby's mouth parted, but no sound came. She glanced toward Chad, confused. "Others?" she asked. Thomas didn't look at her. "Senior team. You'll want them present." It wasn't a suggestion. From her position by the desk, June finally rose and began walking slowly toward the center of the room. Her clipboard swung at her side like a pendulum. She met Shelby's eyes briefly and said nothing. A ripple of confusion moved through the staff. Who was she? Who was this woman who could stop the regional director in mid-stride and decide where a meeting would take place? Monica turned, slowly, and looked across the bank. The clients were still there, some pretending not to look, some openly watching now. She didn't lower her voice. I've reviewed the internal reports. 4 missed compliance audits, delayed integrations, data security protocols still not aligned with national standards. Thomas gave a small nod. We're addressing those. Monica looked toward Shelby. Are you? Shelby's voice cracked. I'm not sure what... She's not sure, Monica repeated. Her eyes didn't blink. The silence was different now. Before, it was dismissal. Now, it was gravity. Chad took one step back. June walked forward. The guard returned and stood quietly by the wall. Monica reached into her tote again. This time, she held a simple black folder. Slim, clean, branded only with a single gold K on the front. She handed it to Thomas. Inside, a list of regional managers, personnel recommendations, strategic overhaul notes. At the bottom of the final page, in clean print, executive transfer of operational oversight. Signed, Monica L. Knight, CEO, Knightwell Group Holdings. Shelby stepped back as if physically struck. Thomas closed the folder gently. He cleared his throat, but not out of nervousness. This bank is under new ownership, he said simply. No raised voices, no ceremony. Just truth. Monica faced Shelby one last time. I gave this branch every chance. I waited. I observed. I allowed the room to tell me who it thought I was. Shelby tried to speak, but her voice caught. Next time, Monica added softly. Do not let the leather tote fool you. She turned slightly, looking to the others now assembling. Regional leads, finance managers, the PR head who had just arrived and was still adjusting his tie. I'll be conducting the rest of this meeting. Here, transparent leadership begins with visibility. A slow, involuntary nod moved through the room. June took her place beside Monica. Diane had stepped in as well. They said nothing, but their presence rewrote the room. And now it was Shelby who stood still, silent. The power had shifted, but not in a shout, in a whisper. The folder lay closed on the polished counter. No one dared touch it. Monica had not raised her voice once. She had not demanded respect. She had revealed the truth and let the silence carry it. Thomas stood just behind her now, hands folded, eyes forward. His posture had changed. Less corporate, more formal. Not because of fear, because of recognition. Diane stepped forward quietly, carrying a sleek laptop, already open. She tapped a few keys and angled the screen toward Shelby. The Knightwell Holdings homepage. Monica's face, full screen, her bio in sharp black letters, Monica L. Knight, founder and CEO, Knightwell Group. Holdings, majority owner, Eastwood Financial. Shelby stared. The color drained from her face. Her voice came out low, uncertain. You're the one who bought us? Monica didn't nod. She didn't smile. She just said one word. Exactly. It echoed. Not in volume, but in weight. Chad lowered his eyes. The teller at the far end stood still, her headset looped around her neck now, forgotten. Monica took one breath, measured and quiet. I walked in through the front because that is how your customers walk in. I declined security because your clients do not walk in with guards, and I carried my own bag because I do not ask for effort I am unwilling to give. No theatrics, no gloating, just facts. I listened. I waited. I allowed space for you to do what was right. Her eyes rested on Shelby. You did not. Shelby opened her mouth, then closed it again. There was no defense. Monica turned slightly to Diane. Effective immediately, transfer regional oversight to the new team. Priority review on all branch-level management. Any non-compliant staff contracts, terminate. Diane didn't blink. Already in process. June stepped in and laid 2 sealed envelopes on the counter in front of Chad and Shelby. Not dramatic. Not loud, just paper and consequence. Shelby stared at hers as though it might explode. You're firing us? she whispered. Monica looked her directly in the eye. I am releasing you from a position you were not prepared to hold. Simple. Unadorned. Final. Chad fumbled with the flap, but June placed a hand over the envelope. Do not open it here. His jaw clenched, but he obeyed. Monica turned to the remaining staff. Those who had watched, those who had stayed quiet, those who had wondered. There is still time for this place to be what it was meant to be. One of the younger associates near the back, Sam, whose name badge had been scratched at the edges, straightened. We just didn't know, he said, quiet, honest. Monica nodded once. Now you do. She walked past the counter, past the marble pillars, past the front doors. Diane followed, clipboard steady. Thomas remained, already fielding questions. Outside, the street buzzed. A cyclist rang a bell. Somewhere nearby, a car alarm chirped off. But inside the glass doors of Eastwood, Bank, silence reigned. The kind of silence that follows truth. Not everyone had been cruel. But no one had intervened. That was enough. Shelby stood still, staring after the woman who had walked in without an appointment, without security, without needing anything from anyone, except observation. The exit was the same as the entrance. Graceful, quiet, clear. But now everyone knew she was not just a customer, she was the owner. The conference room had emptied. The hum of tension was gone now, replaced by something quieter, something heavier. Thomas had stayed behind to handle the transition. Diane was already on a call, her tone brisk, her steps assured. June carried 2 more folders to legal. Routine. Work. But the air had changed. In the hallway near the break room, Monica stood with one person, Janelle, same black slacks. Same navy blouse. The same quiet presence she had shown when Monica first arrived. But now, there was something new in her posture. Not pride, not shock. Readiness. Monica handed her a slim envelope. Janelle blinked. I'm sorry. What is this? Your new appointment. Monica's voice was soft. Acting branch manager, full authority during the transition period. If things go well, permanent. Janelle stared at her, stunned. But I didn't even know who you were. I know. Monica gave a small nod. That is why it matters. There was no performance in Janelle's gratitude, no rushing to prove herself, just steady eyes and a quiet, thank you. Monica glanced toward the main floor. New clients were trickling in. A few tellers had resumed their posts. The energy was still uncertain, but shifting. You did not raise your voice. You did not ask permission to be decent, Monica said. Keep doing that. Janelle hesitated, then spoke, carefully. Sometimes I wonder if it even counts when no one sees it. Monica looked directly at her. They saw it today, and so did I. She paused, as if weighing the moment, then added, Don't let people train you out of it. The sentence hung in the air like something sacred. Janelle's eyes glistened. She nodded once, small but firm. There were no camera crews, no applause, no photo ops. But that single moment between 2 black women, one rising, one already risen, was the most powerful scene of the day. Monica made her way to the doors, her pace unhurried. She passed the same desk where Shelby had once stood, now empty. Chad's chair had been wheeled aside, his nameplate removed, but no one was celebrating. That was not the tone. This was not revenge. It was repair. She reached for the door herself, no assistant, no escort, and stepped into the afternoon sun. No one followed. No one needed to. Monica Knight didn't need to say she had changed something. She had shown it. Across the lobby, one of the younger tellers, Sam, watched through the glass. He turned to Janelle. That really just happened, he said. Janelle smiled. It did. And she really meant it, huh? She always does. Down the sidewalk, Monica disappeared into the stream of the city. Another professional in a clean-lined coat, leather tote in hand, curls soft in the breeze. But Eastward Branch would remember her, not because she owned the building, but because she revealed its values. Without anger, without spectacle, just quiet clarity and a standard that would not bend. The Eastward Branch opened 15 minutes late the next morning. No explanation was given, no memo sent, just a quiet delay that spoke louder than protocol. Inside, the atmosphere was different. Phones still rang, deposits were still made, but something fundamental had shifted. There was no morning gossip, no eye rolls, no whispered judgments near the front desk. Instead, people moved a little slower, listened a little more carefully. Sam adjusted his tie twice before stepping onto the floor. Diane offered to mentor 2 junior associates she had once brushed off. Even the lighting seemed less harsh, like the space itself had exhaled. Janelle arrived 10 minutes early, as always, but this time, she walked to the manager's office, unlocked it, and sat at the desk. Not with fanfare, but with purpose. She reviewed the day's agenda, then placed one thing on the desk. A simple note. Kindness counts, even when no one is watching. No one had seen her write it, but by noon, everyone had read it. The ripple was quiet, but it was real. Somewhere, on the other side of town, Monica Knight moved through her day. Meetings, decisions, strategies, nothing dramatic. Just the ongoing work of someone who leads with clarity. She never spoke of the incident publicly. No social posts, no boardroom. Anecdotes. She didn't need to. What happened at Eastwood had already done its job. Not as revenge. Not as spectacle, but as proof. That power, when held with integrity, does not need to shout, and that culture, once seen clearly, cannot be unseen. Eastwood would never go back to who they were before she walked in. The leather tote, the silver Tesla. The woman with no assistant. She had not come to punish. She had come to remind. And they would remember. Not out of fear, but out of respect.